Good evening, Gills fans. Welcome back to the latest episode of Gills in the Blood TV. It's Wednesday evening, which of course means that it's match preview show time, and it comes this week off the back, unfortunately, of a midweek home defeat for the Gills, going down on Tuesday night by 1-0 against Grimsby Town. But the silver lining was that Walsall got slapped at home to Fleetwood. So we do remain top of the pile in League Two as we head, and I'm going to call it Gresty Road at the weekend because I don't like modern stadium names. So it is us versus Crewe Alexandra, and I'm pleased to say that to give us all the details we need on the Alex is Tyler Birtles. I'll put his details in the description at the bottom of the video, so please go and give him a follow. Tyler, welcome to the show first and foremost. Appreciate your time and looking forward to what should be a good game at the weekend.
Yes, definitely. Thank you for the welcome. I think it'll be quite a good game, to be honest. I think we're both off the back of some recent good form. We both fell short in our previous games, so that makes it a bit more of a livelier game. Obviously, you'll want to bounce back from just a 1-0 defeat, and we'll want to get straight back into a good run of form. Obviously, we started the season quite poorly, and then we turned it around when just had 4 previous wins in a row. One time that you think you can get 5 in a row, and it's you fall short at Newport. So no, I think it'll be quite an exciting game, to be honest.
Yeah, it should be decent. And looking at Crewe's form, like you say, after that, I think it was goalless in your first 3 games. You picked up 13 points from the last 18. You got the benefit of the week off because I think you was due to play Wimbledon, but because of their pitch issues, they've then had a postponed game. So, but yeah, some really good results in there. Like you say, there's that draw against Swindon, and then your latest game was a defeat at Newport. But between there, it was 4 wins on the bounce. Bromley 2-1, Morecambe 1-0, Accrington 1-0, and thrashed Harrogate by 3-0. So you must be fairly pleased with how it's gone after that start where I think everyone was maybe a bit concerned.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, off the back of a playoff final, we kind of scraped into the playoffs. Obviously, the form near the end of the season wasn't particularly great. And then we managed to get a last-ditch equaliser at Colchester, which confirmed our playoff position. And then when we played Doncaster in the first leg, it was not great. So you go into the Doncaster game kind of just sitting on hope, but you know that the belief in the squad is there and that they're capable. And that comeback obviously just reignited everyone's belief. We fell short at Wembley, and then the poor start of the season was just kind of the similar form to what we ended last season with. So it was a concerning start, really. The lack of goals was really concerning. And then we've turned it around. But the fans, even when we were getting like this run of form going, obviously we came back against Bromley, but then the 2 1-0 wins were quite scrappy. And fans were saying all over social media, oh, can we see a convincing win? Can we see more attacking football? Can we see something that just shows that we shouldn't really be worried about scraping these results? And Lee Bell must have just, I don't know what he did. I don't know if he showed the tweets to the squad, but we went into the Harrogate game more attacking. The lineup was targeted at that, and we just tore them apart. It was a fantastic result. So obviously you went in hopeful against Newport, and we fell short. But it was mistakes really that kind of cost us there. A great equaliser, but then we fell short to a long throw. So yeah, but yeah, disappointing, but kind of unlucky at the same time. So
that's it. Similar to us losing against Grimsby, everyone I think would have said that's a game that Gills should win based on the league table.
Definitely.
But we all know that's not how simple it is, and it's the pitfalls of League Two football. We've seen it hundreds of times, and we'll see it hundreds of times more before the end of the season. Gills, just quickly, 12 points from their last 6 games. There's not too much in terms of points accrued over the last half dozen. There's wins in there against Chesterfield, Tranmere, Notts County, and Barrow, and 2 defeats against Doncaster Rovers and Grimsby Town this past week. But you mentioned the playoff final, Tyler, obviously, and then you lost a few players from that side that had got beat by Crawley. Rio Adebisi obviously has gone up into the division above, I think, with Peterborough. Luke Offord decided to go and join MK Dons. Elliot Nevitt decided to join us a week after the playoff final defeat. Just how concerned were you? Because we've spoken about the turnaround since the goal is 3 games at the start of the season. But like the reasons you've said, form wasn't good going into the playoffs. You sort of fell into the playoffs. You then had the sort of, what was the anomaly in the form was the recovering to come from behind against Doncaster in the semi-finals. You then, I think it's fair to say, were outplayed by Crawley in the playoff final, I thought, specifically second half.
Yeah.
And then you combine that with losing good players and a hangover, potentially, from losing the playoffs.
Yeah.
Just how worried were you after that trio of opening games? And was there any real pressure on Lee Bell?
I think when you look at the players that we lost, some of them were quite inevitable, really. So, like Rio Adebisi, we knew he was going to go. way before because he was just such a talented player. Look, offered. There was a rumor floating around that we offered him the highest, the best contract to be the most paid player in club history, and he still turned us down because he wanted to explore new ventures. He's now gone to MK, which are they're picking up form. Obviously, they've now taken the manager from Crawley, Scott Lindsay, so that was a big move. They've been stripped of players as well, so it's not just obviously Crewe that have Utuk Nevitt and Aaron Rowe. So that was a big concern. Obviously, you've got with Elliot Nevitt, it was a bit weird because the first season he didn't really hit the targets, but then he had a fantastic season with us, and we didn't know if we were going to keep him. We didn't know if we were going to lose him. It's kind of a bit of like a hit and miss thing. But I think losing the playoff final was definitely the kind of the nail in the coffin. Really, I think if we got up to League One, he might have considered staying. But then with some of the squads that were getting assembled around us and some of the money that some squads have over us, then it was that was another talking point. I think the main concern with me was the replacement of players. It wasn't necessarily the loss of players. It was who we kind of bring in to replace them. So obviously we lost Nevitt and CBR. We brought in Kane Hemmings and Omar Bogle. We Chris Long, which was good, but only when he's fit. Which here and there, I don't know how long he's going to be out for now. Kane Hemmings picked up an injury against Newport, so that's a major concern because Omar Bogle's been out for the last God knows how many weeks. I think he got injured. He came back at Bromley, and then he's been injured since I forget exactly when, but he's been out. He's due back in October as well. So if none of them are back, then against you, I don't know who we're going to play in the sole striker position. It could be Thibaut that came on for him and scored against Newport, but that was the concerning factor. In terms of the defensive side, we lost Offord, but we got Jimmy Natlell and James Connolly, so they were quite good additions. James Connolly's had a bit of a slow start. Knight Lavelle looks levels above his age. He's a fantastic centre back. There's a rumour I saw on Twitter earlier that he could be getting called up to his national team, so that's brilliant. I don't really know the left back position with Rio Adebisi. I was concerned in terms of obviously his quality that he brings, but Max Conway I think has been a fantastic addition. He's slotted right in that left back position. If he can start getting some goal contributions to his name, then he's definitely going to be popular amongst the Crewe fans. But right now his attacking runs, he's filled the gap completely for Rio. I don't really. I think on the other players as a whole, I'm not too concerned. I think it's obviously at the start of the season you had that period that you said that was a bit of a hangover, and we wondered where the goals were going to come because you've just lost Nevitt, who's really creative. You've lost Aaron Rowe that can provide him. You've lost obviously a few midfielders like Lewis Lee, who was quite bright as well. But I think Hemmings has definitely stepped up. He looks really eager for it. Jack Lancaster was fantastic over the last few games. He's really proved that he's capable. But I think Omar Bogle we haven't seen enough of yet. Chris Long we know is good for this level, but Omar Bogle I couldn't really tell you on. We obviously technically did a straight swap with Newport really, and I don't know who's going to get the better side of that deal. So we'll see. But I don't really know where the goals are going to come from if you've got them out. Obviously, Lancaster can provide. Shiloh Tracy hasn't got a goal or assist to his name yet, so yeah, all eyes on him really. Lee Bell, I don't think was really under much pressure from the fans because we're quite a patient fan base in that sense.
No, that's good. I think that's something that's probably gone out in the modern game. So it's refreshing to hear that type of thing about a manager, and he's proved his worth again. You've mentioned two players that I'd written down who sort of jumped off the page when I was doing a bit of research about it, and that was Kane Hemmings. Obviously, if he's injured, that benefits us at the weekend. 3 goals in 8 in League Two is a good start. Like you say, when you lose the players of the calibre of particularly Elliot Nevitt, you need someone to come in and hit the ground running. Jake Lancaster's a player that I've liked for a few seasons. Looks a very tidy player at the level, technically decent. He's got a goal and 2 assists, I think it is, looking at the apps that I use. So we've spoken about them already without having to ask you. And to be fair, you've answered my next bit because I was going to say who else has sort of stood out, but you've mentioned the ones that have come in and impressed, Conway at left back and that type of thing. So it seems that the balance of the squad seems okay, albeit at the moment you're struggling with just trying to get key players on the park due to injuries, which happens to everyone. I mean, we've barely seen Aaron Rowe for us at the moment, which has been a real shame because he's a player that adds direct running, pace and trickery, which we've lacked for years. And I think he's been missing for about 3 or 4 weeks with a hamstring problem. I'm not sure how close he is. and whether we're risking at the weekend, I'm not sure. In terms of the season as a whole, Tyler, like we said, you've come off of a playoff campaign last season, but then, like we've mentioned, all the other attributes, the losing players, Lee Bell not starting the season great, the hangover, turning it round. What is the aim now for the season? Because you currently sit 12th, but you've got a game in hand. I think that takes you up and around the sort of playoff places if you were to win that. And we sit here saying that Gills are top, but if you beat us and then win your game in hand, we're on the same points. And then suddenly everyone says, well, Crewe have had a really good start. So what is the aims amongst the fan base? Is it another shot at the playoffs, or has expectation maybe just been lowered a little bit this season?
I think the main thing off the back of the form that we finished the season with, and then obviously the way that we've started, we wanted to see more attacking football and we wanted to see results turn around. We've seen the additions that we've made. They're a capable squad. They can beat anyone on their day. We've got goals that can come from all sides of the pitch. Like you've got Dimitri from last season. He properly chipped in from the defensive positions, which was fantastic. You've got creative midfielders. You've got Joel Taverner, Max Holacek. They're really bright young prospects. And then, like we said up front, you've got Omar Bogle, who has proved he can at the back of the net. You've got Jack Lancaster, Shiloh Tracy, Chris Long. Looking at the squad overall, it depends on fitness as well as obviously the teams around us. You look at your Notts Counties, your Gillingham, you see how Walsall have started. There's teams that have really built up a squad. Doncaster, they'll be the ones that really want to be up there off the back of the playoff heartbreak. I think for Crewe, obviously we've got one of the lowest budgets, and I'm not going to use that as an excuse because that's the thing that obviously everyone says. Oh well, you've got an academy, even though you've got low budgets, you still bring players through. There is that. Obviously, we lose them when they become quite settled. I think for me personally, I'd like to see us around the playoffs. Okay. I think that's sensible. There'll be there'll be some fans that might say that they want to try and target higher, but I think that's unrealistic with some of the money that's getting thrown around and some of the squads that have been assembled. But then I think it's kind of disappointing off the back of a playoff defeat to not be around the playoffs. So if we slump to mid-table, I think that's quite a disappointment and quite a failure. Because in the way that we've recruited, we've tried to replace the players as well as obviously bringing more talent. And I'm not saying that the squad is going to be levels above last season because we've lost some really talented players. But with the belief that we've got and with the squad that's capable when we can keep them fitness levels, which is going to be the main concern for us, especially in the attack department, I think we can definitely be up and around them playoff positions. Whether or not we're going to win them is a whole different story because a lot of people thought we were dead and buried when we played Doncaster at home, but then we come back and got a trip to Wembley. So anything can happen, really. Like you say, if we beat you and win our game in hand, then we can be on the same points, it just shows how close this league can be. And there's a lot of teams that people will write off quite early on because of their recruitment, and they'll be underdogs. And there's all sorts of teams in this league that can beat anyone on their day. You've seen us. We come back off the back of multiple wins and then lost to Newport. You lost to Grimsby after being on a fantastic start. Anyone could beat anyone. So I think if we can get into another good run of form and get players staying fit and hitting the back of the net, then there's no reason why we can't be around them playoff.
And I'd like to ask, because obviously I did a season preview video at the start of the season, and I did a 1-24 on IG12. Okay. And that was a couple of reasons. Obviously, you know more about it than I do, and that's why I get fans like yourself on to do these previews. That was just the fact that you'd lost a few players, potential hangover of the playoff defeat and that type of thing. And the fact that, like you've said, you've got a smaller budget compared to a lot of teams, compared to us, compared to lots. So that was the reason I had you 12th. Obviously, if the season ended this afternoon, then I'd be spot on. But there's plenty of games to go now. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it progresses. And like I say, I'm looking forward to it. I'm coming up Saturday as well, which is my first trip to. Was it the Mornflake Stadium now, which is.
From naming rights, it's called the Mornflake Stadium, but every fan will call it Gresty Road.
Absolutely, and that's the best way to do it as well. What have you made of Gills' start, just briefly, before we get on to sort of team news and potential lineups?
Well, every week you look at the results around the league and you keep an eye on the table, even though it's early doors. You still have a look. Obviously, when you acquired Nevitt, I thought that he'd carry on his form with you. He's had a bit of a slow start for you, but I've heard from Gills fans that he's shown glimpses and looked quite bright. He's got a goal in the league for you at the moment, which I'm sure he'd say he'd want more. But in terms of your
I think he's only played 3 or 4 league games. We didn't see him until I think Peterborough in league trophy start of September.
Yeah, a bit of an injury, I believe. So no, he'll be disappointed with that. But he's a fantastic player. I mean, provide him service and he'll find the back of the net most times than most strikers. Really, he's really stepped up his mark. Obviously, the first season with us, he didn't really. I don't think he got any goals in the league really. So everyone's kind of looking at him. But no, he's a fantastic addition. Obviously, if he lines up against us like he did in your last game, then he'll. It's inevitable, really. We thought that CBR was going to bag against us, and he had a one-on-one that Mickey Dimitri managed to take off him. So I'm kind of saying that there might be an inevitable Nevitt goal there, inevitable. But no, when you look at Gillingham, I mean, you've made fantastic additions, two of which are our players, which I am a bit jealous about that you managed to take. But no, I mean, 6 wins, 1 draw, 2 losses. You've scored 12 goals and only conceded 3. So that's a testament to your defence as well. I don't really know what to make of Saturday, but no, your start's been fantastic. There's no reason why anyone can say that you don't deserve to be where you are. Obviously, the game against Grimsby was disappointing, but like I said, anyone can beat anyone.
That's it, and it's a massively open division, isn't it? I've said this on plenty of shows, and I'll say it again throughout the season. I think there's probably sort of 2/3, 3/4 of the division think they can get in the playoffs. There's going to be a lot of fans that have got the ump after 46 games, but yeah, really looking forward to it. Like I say, it's my first trip up, so I can't wait. In terms of Saturday itself, we're recording a day before press conferences. What are we thinking in terms of your lineup come Saturday? I'm guessing, like you say, there's a couple of question marks over injuries, but if everybody's available, sorry, that's probably the wrong way. Do you see many changes from how you lined up against Newport? I know you lost, but like you say, there was a quartet of wins before then, so he's not going to make loads of changes, surely, Lee Bell, because it's generally been going all right over the last few weeks.
No, it has. So it's kind of on fitness, really. Omar Bogle, there was questions around him. We don't know when he's going to be exactly back. It's going to be early October, so I don't know if he'll make the bench. I can't see him starting, even with the issue that we've got with Kane Hemmings, and I can't really make a judgment on him because we haven't really had a bit of an update. He went off, and as soon as he rolled his ankle, he knew straight away. He signaled straight to the bench that he wanted to come off, and then we've been got on Tebow, who got the equaliser. I can't imagine there being any changes to the defensive side. Midfield, I don't really know because obviously Brecken came on and was quite bright, so I don't know if you're going to see Sanders or Taberner dropped from last game. Taberner's finding his feet again. Sanders can pick out a pass. Connor Thomas, I think the rumour's out that he's for 3 weeks, so we won't see him. If he was fit, then I'd definitely say that he'd be starting because he's been fantastic defensively, just picking up the ball between the defensive area and midfield. I think we'll kind of go the same, really. I think the main question mark is around Hemmings. I don't know if we're going to throw in Tebow and kind of say it is your first start, which I don't know if it's going to be exactly sensible against Gillingham, considering they've only conceded 3. But then at the same time, I don't really know what else you could shape up front. Obviously, you could kind of do a strike pairing of Lancaster and Tracy and put in Hodgek just in behind. Lancaster's proved he can find the back of the net, but Tracy question marks as well because he hasn't got a single goal or assist. He's got technical ability, he's got pace, but the end product just hasn't been there. So yeah, I think the main question marks there will be around the final third area. But in terms of midfield and the defensive area, I don't think you'll see much.
No, we've got a couple of issues as well. We missed Ramo Hutton in the week, which I think had a bigger impact on how we play than we actually realised because we then had to move Robbie McKenzie, who's been outstanding in the middle of the park with Armani Little. We had to put him back to right back. Then we brought Ethan Coleman in, who I don't think's fully fit. We also swapped Jules Lapsley out for Johnny Williams. And I don't think we got the press quite right against Grimsby. They seem to have too much space. But Hutton's a massive part of what we do because he plays so high. He almost cheats and just stands on the halfway line when we've got the ball and plays like a second winger. So if you've got him and Jack Nolan, it then becomes tough for the left back. But because McKenzie's more defensively minded, he doesn't do that so much. So I think against Grimsby, Nolan was probably doubled up on a bit, which made it sort of more difficult for him. He's been one that's struggled away from home, given his numbers last season. So he's been a bit of a disappointment on the road. But I think hopefully Hutton will be fit. We can get him back in the side and move Robbie back into the middle of the park. And obviously you've got to start Elliot Nevitt against his former club. He'd be chomping at the bit to do well, I think. But yeah, it's got all the makings of of being a really good game, and then the bench might be made up of whoever's available. Obviously, Mr. Dax, the name on everybody's lips at the moment, but we've been really careful with him. He's only made 2 appearances so far, one in the league trophy, and then he got 20 minutes against Barrow last weekend, but then was left out Tuesday just to have a week on the training ground because we don't want to overdo it with him and then lose him for a period of time. So I'm not entirely sure what the 11 or the bench would be with us as well. Final question, Tyler, because it's been good fun. Really enjoyed the chat. Is the dreaded score prediction?
Oh, of course. It won't be a prediction without that. I think I'm gonna have to factor in a Nevitt goal. I think I'm just gonna go with it. I don't know about our attacking threat just based on injuries, but I'm gonna go with a bit of a safe bet, and I'm gonna go 1-1. I think that's a safe bet. I think an inevitable Nevitt goal, and then we'll find some kind of. There we go. We'll find something. So yeah, I think we're both on the same page there. Obviously, you've done really well defensively, so it'll be hard to break you down. But then we're picking up form off the back of a 3-0 win with Harrogate. Obviously, it was disappointing against Newport, but we've proved that we can score more than one. So I think it'll be a 1-1 draw. I think there'll be plenty of chances for both sides, but I think both defences will just hold up quite well.
Yeah, I think it's like you say, it could come down to who's available for both sides. If you get Hemmings available, or like you say, Bogle or someone like that, it could change the way you play. If not, you might be a bit blunt. I think in terms of away games, we've only conceded once, but we've only scored twice in 4 games as well. So it doesn't scream goal fest.
No.
But yeah, I don't think a draw would be a disaster for either side after the back of a defeat. It gets you back on the horse, so to speak, and gets you moving again, doesn't it?
Well, of course, it's 2 good teams. Obviously, you've started the better of anyone in the league, but I think we'll be desperate to bounce back, especially on the run of form where we've turned it around. We don't want to obviously drop into a bit of a slum again, because if we lose to you, then we've come off the back of a fantastic run, and then we've just gone on 2 straight defeats. And then whereas with you, obviously you've started really bright, you're top of the league, you'll want to retain that position, but then you'll have us knocking on your door as well. So I think a 1-1 would be quite fair. I mean, if we go ambitious, we could say a 2-2 as well if we want to find some goals. But no, I think it will be a great result for both teams, really. But then in the same mind, I'm kind of looking at our attacking department and then looking at yours as well, which is going to be the difference, really. I think obviously
potentially, yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think looking at Gresty Road, since 2013-14, we've played 7 times at Gresty Road. We've won 3, you've won 3, and there's been a draw. So it's fairly even all over the park.
So
you've scored 8 and we've scored 7. So there's not a lot in it at your place. So it's got all the makings of being a really tight game. I think it'll be 2 teams that try and win the football match, absolutely. But whether one's able to remains to be seen. But looking forward to it, like I say. Tyler, really appreciate your time, mate. Thank you for coming on. So
thanks for having me.
Really enjoyed it. No, appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Gills fans and Crewe fans, like I always say, if you are watching at this point, then thank you very much. I believe the subscriber count has just ticked over to 3,400. So thank you very much for your ongoing support. Please continue to hit like, and please consider pressing that subscribe button, because it is free to do so and it absolutely helps me out. Also, down in the details at the bottom of this video is the stuff about Justin Foote, Gillingham fan, who's doing his charity walk for Prostate Cancer UK, starting on yesterday, actually, I believe, 1st of October. So if you can click on the link to his Just Giving page and give any little amount, it would be greatly appreciated. A man dies every 45 minutes of prostate cancer in the UK, which means while we watch Crewe versus Gillingham on Saturday afternoon, potentially 2 men will have lost their lives to that awful disease. So please consider digging as deep as you can, because Justin will really appreciate then. Like I say, myself, Ava and Nick will be at Gresty Road on Saturday for a match day live. So looking forward to the trip up for a first visit. New stadium for me to tick off. Come and say hello if you are there. And then we will be back Sunday evening, myself and Reese, and hopefully an Alex fan, to talk about the game in detail. But until then, enjoy the rest of your week. Thanks again to Tyler, and up the Gills.